Hey YouTube, I hope you enjoy this happy hair that I have, because I'm never gonna wear it like this again, but, yeah, I just want to get that out of the way. So, I'm not sure what I'm gonna call this video, but basically, a ton of really crazy, stuff, for lack of a better term, has been happening to me today. And I'm going to first dissect the experience for you, and then get into the meat of the astrology of it, just as an example of how to interpret events in your life based on astrology. Now, the website that I'm using to look at the planets is called planetwatcher.com. It automatically uses the clock on your computer and the date and time, and goes straight to the astrological chart for the day. And I'm going to explain to you the different planets involved and their relationships, and how I interpret that based on the experience I'm about to tell you that I just had. Now, you can look at my hand and see a nick there. That's a fresh nick from this morning. I have more on my knees. Basically, pretty much the day before the new moon in September. It was the day before the new moon. So it was basically a balsamic waning crescent moon phase. I had some friends over from a darker time in my life, and I woke up the next morning and I was missing a sacred $100 bill in the altar on the top shelf there, plus all the sacred coins that I had been keeping, plus a sacred piece of orgone and crystal beads, and that was it, and a $2 bill. But then my dad's wallet had also been robbed. Now, this is all happening on the new moon, balsamic waning moon phase, and I was telling my dad this because he's not really an astrology believer, and it is a pseudo-science, like I say. But this is a perfect example of astrology, essentially. It's a perfect example. Releasing things that are no longer necessary in your life. Now, a few things were released. One, people. Friends. People that I had been associating with. I would never associate with these people again, and you'll find out why more clearly soon. But principle, though. You want to have people around you that have principle and character, and if they're people that are going to rob you and your family, what's going on with that? So that's besides the point. I'm very upset about that, but it's okay. I was upset with myself. I should be clear, I was upset with myself. Now, I was telling my dad how it was a perfect astrology example of, releasing things. And I did, so also another thing that was robbed from me was the golden heirloom ring that my father passed down to me on my 21st birthday, which he bought on his 21st birthday. So I got that back. I got that back the day after the new moon. I had to file a charge, of course, with the police, and it was kind of a close case, it seemed, because there's no real evidence based, except for my word, and there was other people that were there, the other two kids that were there. So the other two, people involved, they vouched for me, thankfully, and, the whole thing kind of eased into where it was that I got most of my stuff back, minus the money they spent on whatever drugs they were doing. Drugs, by the way, is a Piscean, Neptunian type of thing. So typically you want to look at where Neptune is in your chart, or where the house of Pisces is in your chart, or what planets are in Pisces, and what relationships to Neptune and Pisces are being made, if you want to dig into more about people and drug problems. And there's other things that can go into that as well. More of the farther out planets. I won't say too much more about that for now. So anyways, this morning, I was supposed to be at court today because I filed a charge. And if you file a charge and, the police are involved, then you have to go to court when they give you a subpoena. Now, I never got a subpoena. I was in Canada. So, and I didn't know that I was going to be legally required to go to court, you know, with the threat of contempt of court or something as a misdemeanor if I didn't go. So I was pretty unhappy about that. And if you look outside, there's definitely snow out there. And the roads were much worse, and I was supposed to be there at 9:30 in the morning. Anyways, long story short, I crashed my moped one house down. I told the cops several times the only means of transportation that I have is a moped, and it's utterly ridiculous for me to get to the courthouse 9 miles away in this, snowy weather with the roads all slush and ice in my neighborhood. So anyways, I crashed the moped one house down, and the moped refused to start after that. I went to my neighbor and told him, hey, I have a relatively serious favor to ask of you. Can you help me go to court? Yeah, not proud of that. And he says, just call them, leave a voicemail, tell them you had an accident and that you couldn't make it, so they have to reschedule. So I did that, and I got back inside, and I was extremely angry. I've been dealing with highly potent anger, passion vibes these last couple days. And it has to do with the Saturnic, vibes going on with the day, and it has to do with the I'll say my Mars. My Mars is definitely very involved in that. So, anyways, I fell asleep, and I got a call, and the kid that robbed me died. He died about 14 days ago. On the 27th is what the police officer told me. So the whole thing's dropped, and he owed me $140 still, because that's what the charge was for. And I didn't charge him for the grand larceny, I charged him for the petty larceny. And yeah, so he's dead, and I just barely cried a little bit on the phone with the police officer. So there's a lot of things that kind of just happened there. And the next thing that I'll have to tell you is that my beloved, my princess, my darling, sweetest Sarah, is going to be here from Canada starting tomorrow. So that's quite an exciting, thing going on. That's a lot of things to kind of take in for, a single day or a single moment in time. And I'm about to dig pretty seriously into this astrology with you here. So today's date is January 9th. Now, initially when you look at an astrology chart, and this is the transit for 11:11 a.m., it's kind of nice. Maybe I'll figure out how to put a screenshot, and I'll take a screenshot of it now. Okay. Now, initially when you look at an astrology chart, there's a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of lines, and there's a lot of colors, and a lot of symbols, and all of it doesn't really make any sense unless you really know what you're talking about or what you're looking at, really. So, one of the first things that I'll mention is Saturn in the first degree of Sagittarius. Saturn in the first degree of Sagittarius has just moved out of the Scorpio. There's the whole death and rebirth, transformation energy. And, it being at the very end of the Scorpio phase when this kid died is not too surprising. Now, it being in the first degree of Sagittarius right now is much more resonant of, a fresh beginning and a fresh outlook and a fresh, philosophy, and structuring that fresh philosophy into a more material and physical structure, in a physical routine, in a physical way of being. So you take this fresh perspective and you physically apply it to your life on a consistent basis, and that's what Saturn in the first degree of Sagittarius to me says. Now, Saturn is making two squares, roughly 90-degree angles, to one Mars and the other Neptune. And this is just from today, keep that in mind. Now, it's within 3 degrees 4 degrees of Mars and within 4 degrees of Neptune. The way that you know that is that you look at the numbers. Saturn is in the 1st degree, 1 out of 30 degrees per sign. 30 degrees per sign. Mars is at 27 of Aquarius, and Neptune is at 5 of Pisces. Now, if you don't want to learn astrology, I apologize, but this is basically what this is about, so you can just stop watching now if you don't care to learn about astrology. So, you look at the lines. There's a red line with the symbol of a square on it, connecting from Saturn to Mars and Neptune. That's a quick way to know that it's approximately 90 degrees. And now, if Mars was on the 1st degree of Pisces, or Neptune was on the 1st degree of Pisces, then it would be what's called an exact square. Now, one important thing to note is that all of these planets are moving. So Mars is going to be on the 1st degree of Sagittarius at the same time as Saturn being on the 1st degree. I'm sorry, Mars will be on the 1st degree of Pisces while Saturn will be on the 1st degree of Sagittarius. I got too into it there. And that means that it's an exact square, which means that there's a very potent window of time for serious manifestation. Now, this is in the context of Mars in Aquarius currently, so we're looking at the end of the Aquarian phase, which is all about ingenuity. It's all about innovativeness, riding the airwaves, finding the best, possible slipstream of air, and coasting through it, and just enjoying that, the feeling of a thought form that carries you through to fruition and completion. And Mars is all about navigating into that, feeling inside of your gut what you should exactly be doing, what posture you should be holding, what thoughts you should be having, what type of attitude you should exude from the center of your being. So as Mars moves to the 28th and 29th degrees of Aquarius, that's really the time to be figuring it out, what exactly it is I need to be doing to manifest this potentially beautiful Saturnic cycle in the 30 degrees of Saturn and Sagittarius. Now, this is probably the only opportunity. This is the only opportunity we're going to have with Saturn and Mars making an exact square in the 1st degrees of Sagittarius and the 1st degree of Pisces here. So this is 2 cycles going on. This is the cycle of Sagittarius and the cycle of Pisces. Now, the other thing going on is a slower moving exact square with Neptune and Saturn. Saturn will be exactly squaring to Neptune in, I'll ballpark it, 10 to 14 days. Yes, I could look into it now, but I'm just going to ballpark it because you could figure it out yourself. Now, Saturn making an exact square to Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces is all about feeling into the deepest parts of your dreams, your fantasies, your desires, and what it exactly is that feels the best to really, like, the most beautiful, most graceful feelings that you can have. Now, you can get stuck in those feelings, and that's a very common thing to experience, is getting stuck in those feelings. So, what Saturn squaring to Neptune is going to ask is that you look at the most beautiful things about yourself and about the world, and you put realistic expectations on them. You put realistic limitations and realistic goals in mind, realistic milestones for those goals, because you have these beautiful dreams, and they're all possible. All of them. Even if it means you have to paint or draw them, or turn them into a story, or turn them into something for somebody else. If you have to share your dream with somebody else to see it happen, if it's your child, if it's your relative, if it's your friend, if it's your lover, you have to figure out what it means to be sharing this beautiful essence that you have, with yourself and with the other. And that's a beautiful adventure to go down. Saturn is not about, being selfish and about being, giving exclusively to yourself. Saturn is about finding your place in the world and how you can structure your life to be the most beautiful person you can be, especially in the context of Neptune here being almost an exact square. Now, the window of time is a little bit larger here, but slower. So, as Saturn moves into the exact square with Neptune, we're going to see a lot of, our dreams start to give us a glimpse of reality. How beautiful things can be, and it's gonna show us how beautiful things can be, and it's gonna ask us to figure out how to maintain those things, how to maintain the authority and control that you have over yourself in the context of these things, not in the context of how can I maintain the blissful feelings that I have right now, but how can I maintain the actual experience, the structure of reality, the time and the space and all the particular waves that are going on. How can I structure my internal, being to allow that to really, be comfortable and to really be, wonderful for everybody for as long as possible. And that's a Piscean thing. Beauty for everybody and love for everybody. So Mars moving into the exact square with Saturn soon, and Saturn moving into the exact square with Neptune soon. This is gonna be a long video, so hold on to your hats. Now, Mercury and Venus are both in Aquarius at the 7-degree mark. Mercury and Venus they're traveling alongside each other relatively often. Not all the time, but they have been. And they're going to continue to travel together for a little while here. And Mercury and Venus together makes your communications extra powerful. Extra, heartfelt. Extra from, the basis of like the bottom of your brain, which is kind of a Mars kind of a thing, but pretty much how I feel I need to be, to express the beauty that is intrinsic within me. And now you may be dealing with this on a larger or smaller scope, whatever. You're dealing with the feeling of being properly heard, being properly communicated to, with, by, from, whomever, however. And now, currently this is making what's called an inconjunct. Yes, an inconjunct with the moon in Virgo. So we've already talked about what Aquarian vibes are, and you can kind of guess what this will mean. But Mercury being the messenger god, the thinking, the quick-wittedness, the digestion of mental processes, and Venus being beauty and luxury and pleasure and wholeness manifest. Now, the moon making an inconjunct here is a much more quick kind of a phase, and it's going to quickly move from inconjunct into the space of a trine. An inconjunct is 150 degrees. Now we're talking about right now 152 degrees, and when it's going to move into the trine, which is 120 degrees, which would make an equilateral triangle if you go all the way around, and that's going to happen within 2.5 days. So keep that in mind when we talk about the inconjunct. The trine is a very harmonious, open, flowing relationship between planets. And we have the moon at an inconjunct here. Now, the moon is all about the emotional body, the auric sphere. It's about how you feel today and how you feel in a paternic, spiraling sense on average. So basically we're talking about transits and natal. So transits being where the planets are today, the orbs are today, and natal being where your planets are when you're born. And there's many other ways to look at astrology, but this is the main two that, I've come to know and love. So the inconjunct is typically what's known as an awkward vibe, an awkward relationship between planets. So Virgo and Aquarius make an awkward feeling. It's fixed air, strong, communicating, intellectual, innovative, intelligent, kind of quick, just like here and there, just like, quickly able to adapt to a new scenario and hold on to that, and do that with as many things as are there. While Virgo is mutable earth, and I'll quickly go over them again. Cardinal is the beginning of the alchemical process, fixed is the middle of the alchemical process, and mutable is the final stage in the alchemical process. Now, Aquarius being fixed and Virgo being mutable causes them to kind of clash a little bit, but then you have the Aquarius air and the Virgo earth. So air and earth, if you imagine throwing a handful of dirt into a strong breeze, and the breeze has been strong for the last several days, that is kind of what would be the relationship between Aquarius and Virgo. Another example would be throwing a rock straight up into the sky and expecting it to fall straight down. Okay. Now, a Virgo being mutable earth is all about like the physical objects that are transient in your life. It's all about the things that you move through, whether that be dirty clothing, whether that be dust on the floor and vacuuming, whether that be the food that you go to the grocery store and buy and transport home and put into your mouth and chew and swallow down your esophagus into your stomach and all the way through the miles of intestines and out your butthole and into the toilet and into the sewer system, whatever sewer system that you have. And I have my own opinions about sewer systems. So now Virgo, with the moon here, is saying, okay, now there's a lot of things going on physically. There's a lot of things that I can process and understand about the physical world today. And there's a lot of options that I have. And I want to know what the best way to communicate and feel into those objects and those potential experiences so that I can make the best decision in structuring my reality. So that's essentially the relationship between Venus and Mercury aligned at 7 degrees and the moon in Virgo. Venus and Mercury being Aquarius. I hope that you've opened up a Planet Watcher chart, by the way, so that you can actually follow what I'm talking about. And I'll definitely try to have the picture up in the video, but if not, I apologize. Now, the next big thing going on is, I'll talk about these things right now. These are the large scale themes. These are the themes that have been structuring our lives for, long periods of time, because they are very slow moving cycles. So we're talking about Pluto, Uranus, and the lunar nodes. And I tried to explain the lunar nodes to you in another video, but I'll quickly go over what they mean astrologically, not astronomically, and they are, by the way, astronomical points in the sky. So the lunar nodes, there's the north node and the south node, and they are always opposing. They are the dragon's head and the dragon's tail, also otherwise known as Rahu and Ketu in Vedic sidereal astrology. So the north node is about what you really are here to experience in this life, what you really want to experience, what you really are craving, what you really need out of life, and what you're always steering your personal ship towards. You're always steering your ship towards your north node, and you're always coming from the direction of your south node. Your south node is your karma. Your south node is where you've made decisions and you've taken actions and you feel the repercussions of those actions. They are not by any means bad, but they can really feel that way. These are the things you can feel guilty about, but also the things that you can be very proud of, and also the things that you can remember in fondness about yourself and about your experiences with the world and so on. So, the North Node currently is in Libra, and the South Node currently is in Aries. Libra and Aries are a dualistic pair of oppositions, both cardinal. One is fire, one is air. The North Node is in Libra, the South Node is in Aries. They're at 13 degrees of Libra and Aries. The 4 cardinal signs in the zodiac all make 90-degree angles to each other. There's Libra, there's Capricorn, there's Aries, and there's Cancer. Now we're talking about what's called a T-square. So that is one aspect that's an opposition and a 90-degree angle connecting those two. I'm looking at Pluto making a T-square to Uranus and the lunar nodes, all of them at 13 degrees approximately. So that's an exact, T-square, and that's a very powerful formation astrologically to experience. So, with the North Node in Libra, that's the justice system. That's justice, that's judgment, that's the scales, that's balance, that's harmony, that's moving towards the ever-shifting, presence of a perfect world, of a beautiful world. That's Libra. It's the sign right at the beginning of autumn, which is a beautiful time. And that's what it's based off of, is the time of the beginning of autumn. And then we have the South Node at Aries, right in the middle of Aries. So, the South Node is all about the things that we've begun. The things that we've begun and how they affect our lives. And this has Uranus directly aligned to it within 1 degree. So, it's at 12 degrees, whereas the lunar nodes are in 13. So, Uranus at the 12-degree mark, it's about our higher calling. It's about what really sparks us off, what really kicks us going into what we feel is the most essential, the most magnificent, direction. And it's about how we've taken up our passions into our hands and we've placed them precisely where we feel they need to go. And it's about the repercussions and the consequences and the rewards and the beauty of these things. There's a lot of potential to the Uranus-Pluto lunar nodule formation here of the T-square. The T-square to me is a mountain. It's a mountain that can be climbed or observed and appreciated. And Pluto here makes the crest of the mountain, the top of the mountain, the peak. And Pluto is in Capricorn, which is so picturesque for the T-square in my opinion. And Pluto is our deepest desires for our deepest goals, and we have the fates, the lunar nodes, and Uranus, the ingenuitive spark and creative flow, and the Aries vibes of let's just get this going, let's do it. And that is making a beautiful T-square. So we're headed into the deep, the mysterious, the Plutonian Capricorn. We're headed into where our largest, most beautiful dreams for ourselves meet our direct conscience. They meet with our higher mind, and they meld together to create an ideal, a goal. Whether that's subconscious or not is totally relevant, because there's so many people out there that have these deep desires that are so repressed, and they don't even know what they are because they aren't allowed to tap into these desires for whatever reason. Whether it's always self-imposed, but it may not feel that way. So these desires that people have to explore the deepest realms of themselves and to really become that deepest part and that most essential person that they can be in the physical world is being called out towards, and the bells are ringing louder and louder. Louder and louder. I swear, if you're not conscious of what's going on, if you're not conscious of the beautiful potential behind the energy of the day, the era, then you're dealing with it in a very, very, unconscious, shadowy way, which is by all means okay. By all means it's okay, but that can have an effect. That can have an effect on the decisions that you're making, because if you're like repressing your deep desires to make bold new decisions, to make bold acquisitions of what it is that you really know in your heart of hearts that you want and need, then you're going to feel the repercussions of repressing that. You're going to feel the repercussions of taking actions that you don't feel passion toward. You're going to feel that. And I understand your pain. I understand that the world can really try to take you out of your own personal, individual signature element. I can understand that. And I want you to really ask yourself what it is that you want in your heart of hearts. Not what you need, but what you want in your heart of hearts. So, the last thing that I'll mention is Jupiter and the Sun making an inconjunct. Jupiter in Leo, 21 degrees. Capricorn, Sun, 19 degrees. That's 2 degrees off of 150 degrees. I think that's 148. I'm not exactly sure. It's either 148 or 152. Anyways, my apologies, my nose. So the Sun in Capricorn has lit up Pluto, and has recently lit up the T-square, and it actually happened around the day that Jason passed away. The Sun lit up the deepest parts of our individual goals, and collectively it was decided that he should not be anymore. Why? I don't know. I don't know why he had to go. Yes, he robbed me and he hurt my family, but I don't feel he deserved to die. I feel that I don't know. I honestly, I can't even say. I don't know. Part of me wants to say that he needed to die. Maybe he wanted to die. I can understand that too. It seems to me that the collective made a subconscious decision that he was no longer worth having around. And it's a very sad thing to see. But at the same time, it's also beautiful in a way. His personal signature vibration was no longer a match for the physical world, and that's something that a lot of people can feel they resonate toward without actually experiencing it, when they feel that. To desire to die, to feel like death is right around the corner, to feel the presence of death in nature, in your family. this is a time, the winter season in the northern hemisphere is a time where things are dying. If you're no longer strong enough to withhold yourself and your being, then nature will do that work for you. Jupiter makes an inconjunct with the sun. Leo is all about the inner fire, the heart and the spine. It's about, in my opinion, virtue and holding your head up high in your light. Whatever that light is, it's holding yourself up in that light and knowing your place and appreciating yourself and expecting others to see that too, and not having that expectation met sometimes. There's a shadow side and a light side to every planet and every sign and every person and every aspect and every relationship and every object. Every object has a shadow. We're in the realm of duality here. We chose to be here for whatever reason, even if that reason's not known currently. It is known though. So we have another inconjunct. It's another awkward aspect, and it's the Sun in Capricorn and Jupiter in Leo. Now the Sun is actually about to make the exact inconjunct. So in approximately 2 days, the Sun will be 150 degrees away from Jupiter in the circle of the ecliptic. And inconjuncts are honestly a little bit harder to measure, but I'll do my best. So the Sun has shined its light and activated the T-square recently, within 7 days or so. And Jupiter has been asking us to look at ourselves in a new light, to look at ourselves in a way that makes us feel great and strong and appreciated. Jupiter wants us to look at ourselves and to hold ourselves in such a high light that others can't help but recognize that. I know I experienced that, and I am a Leo. For others, it may be with Jupiter here that there are very appealing philosophies that are now beginning to teach you more about yourself and how you can behave and think and understand and project toward new things. And Jupiter is the teacher, the guru, So Jupiter in Leo says, okay, I want you to feel the self that you would most like to feel and see that self become realized. And the Sun is over there saying, wait a minute, there's a lot more to this. This is, yes, a very simple thing, but there's a lot of depth to that simplicity. And within that depth is simplicity, but your ego may not allow you to see that simplicity for what it is. And your ego may cause, illusions and obstacles that you need to overcome. Trials and tribulations of the ego, so that you can overcome them and become your new self. In approximately, let me see here. In approximately a month and a half, the Sun is going to make an exact square to Saturn. And I will check this for you because that's a little bit much of a guesstimation. Now, 1 month exactly is the Sun at 19. and the sun is at 19 today. So moves one 30-degree segment in 30 days. So I am currently on the day of February 23rd. A little more than a month and a half. Approximately a month and a half. So this is a whole other ball game, but I want to talk about this time though, moving towards the end of winter, because I don't want you to become too comfortable with the chaos, too comfortable with your mess, too comfortable with the repercussions of your actions. I want you to be able to see the beautiful, goals and structures that you had set for the new year, and I want you to stay strong in those goals. And I also want you to truly listen to your inner self, your inner higher self, that if you can no longer hold that space, that structure, that you reassess and reevaluate and reorganize and reclarify, and don't give up. Don't give up for too long, at least. And if you do give up, recognize that you're healing. But I want you to structure your life again in a month and a half. Reassess whatever it is that's going on, because things have a tendency to not go as planned and to get messy. So, with that said, I'm going to start to talk about how what happened to me today is kind of interesting. Sorry. Yeah, you're really getting to know me, huh? I think my crazy haired dude totally says it all. But now, what happened to me today? Gosh, I need to look at the chart again. So, my sun is at 26 Leo, which is right by Jupiter, and that right off the bat tells me I've got a lot of learning going on about my ego. There's a lot of things about my ego that are becoming larger and possibly getting out of hand. So, pardon me while I blow my nose. I figure you stuck around this long, huh? My knee is a little bit messed up. It's okay though. It's vitally important to always make sure you're making the healthiest possible choices. I know it can be hard, but find a way to make it enjoyable. It makes a difference. More of a difference than you'll ever realize. More of a difference than I'll ever realize. We can get close though. So, let's see. Now, I have a lot of planets in Virgo, and my ascendant's in Virgo, and the moon in Virgo, right where it is, tells me that there's a lot of pressure that has been mounting, which there has been, and a lot of that pressure has been physical, just like my ascendant, and just like Virgo. The ascendant is where it's where your body is. It's where the heavens and the earth meet. It's the in-between. So, the moon here tells me that I have a lot of emotions that are coming through my physical body, and the place that my emotions are coming from is a physical place, because there's a lot of physical things going on in my life that are affecting how I feel. Now, Pluto in Capricorn and the Sun in Capricorn, and the T-square. That is right where my Uranus-Neptune conjunction is, in the 4th house. So my domestic world, my home life, is about to be flipped around here, with my beloved, coming here tomorrow from Canada. And Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune all in my 4th house. Uranus and Neptune being my natal planets. There's a lot of deep, goals and dreams and ambitions that are coming to the surface. And there's a very highly structured divine order to the karma, the cause and effect, and the goals and the directions in which I'm heading with my beloved, my darling. Saturn and Mars is me making this video and me being angry about falling and having to go to court. Saturn very much being the court system and the police officer that has constantly been harassing me to go to court under the threat of misdemeanor for contempt of court. And Mars is me not knowing where to funnel that extra energy. So here I am making this video, and I have a lot of energy, still. Neptune in Pisces. Recently this morning made an exact opposition to the moon in Virgo. 5 and 5. Virgo and Pisces. Opposition. There was actually a very, very significant dream that I had, and I'll tell you the dream. So I wasn't in the dream. There was a couple. This is all very spiritual to me, this dream. And this is very much Neptune in Pisces and the moon in Virgo. The opposition here. I'll be honest, having a long-distance relationship hasn't been easy. And, I love my girlfriend more than anything. It's hard to say that because I don't want her or anyone to think that I need or rely on her, even though it's true. Anyways, the dream. So there was a couple, and they were spelunking in a cave underwater near a beach, and they got trapped. The couple was trapped in the cave. The walls caved in around them, and they were stuck. The dream pans out to a higher view, and the land's nearby. This is not this era or time frame or whatever. And there's a girl, and she's walking down, a path near the beach, near some grass, and there's some nice clouds there. And she launches herself up into the sky, flying and spinning around like a superhero. The dream, moves away from her, and there's a fish in the water that has a ridiculous amount of character and personality. And the fish calls to the girl, and they travel together underwater toward the cave, because the fish told the girl about the cave. Now, the couple, goes back to the couple, and the couple is trying to communicate outside of the walls, and they hear commotion going on with army men, and there's a battle about to happen. The army men are of no help, and they eventually pack up and leave. And right as they leave, the fish and the superhero girl pop through the floor of the cave in like a circular portal, and the fish is turned into a purple light, and it just bounces around and cuts through the walls, not actually, but just, changing the matter there into light or something, and all of them walk out of the cave. They end up at a seaside kingdom with extraordinarily large, stone architecture that was quite beautiful and picturesque. Very much a Neptunian dream. I've never had a dream with such a clear message to me before, and I did psychoanalyze the dream and explain it to my woman. The Saturn square Mars is the most clear example of what I experienced. Saturn structuring my Mars. Saturn telling my Mars that it needs to pace itself. It needs to slow down. It needs to allow room for improvement, and it needs to relax and relax into instinctive actions as opposed to being forceful and angry. And it's asking my Mars to take my passion, my extra passion and fire, and channel that into all the different beautiful things that I've imagined and dreamed of. The Pluto T-square is the next big thing that I would mention again, and that's a very encompassing thing here. I don't know what to say about it. It's just structuring the era, structuring the time that we live in, moving forward into what it is that we can deeply desire. And if we can't, then it surfaces as, the consequences of our past choices. Our plethora of past choices that build up. And it's about learning to take a new perspective on our past choices, and learning how to take that new perspective and apply it to new actions towards a more beautiful, balanced, harmonious life for ourselves and those around us, including smaller and larger sentient beings. Everything from microbes and ants to corporations and governments and worlds. my Leo is sticking out. Well, if you've actually watched the whole thing, all I can say is thank you, and I hope that you've gained as much as I have from creating this video. Much love. Have a wonderful new year. I guess I'm going to title this New Year Astrology Shenanigans Session, because why not? I'll add the word forecast in there just because. Honestly, kind of hard to say goodbye. I haven't made a video this long and never planned to publish it, so I'm curious to see if I'll get any views or comments on this and what they'll be. Shut up, American Geomancer, what are you talking about with your fancy schmancy astrology, your devil magic? And I'll just kind of chuckle, but we'll see. Surprise me, guys, surprise me.